Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video. I missed last month. I missed my update for last month in my No Pan Left Behind series. So I have 2 months worth of progress to share. Although in March, I really did not complete any palettes No Pan Left Behind. I've been finding my eyeshadow preferences this year just have not been the same as what they have been last year. I've been opting for something a little bit more simple. I just have not been doing as extravagant of eyeshadow looks, if you will. And also I just haven't been filming every single day on the weekends like I normally have. So I just have not been using eyeshadow as frequently. But I do have 6 eyeshadow palettes that I have completed No Pan Left Behind style, and we will be rolling out 2 eyeshadow palettes and rolling in 2 new eyeshadow palettes in today's video. If you have no idea what No Pan Left Behind means, it means that I have used every single pan of eyeshadow within a palette at least one time before rolling it out. So if you're interested in my progress, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project panning content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, that is what we do over in this channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing before moving on. Also, give this video a like and leave a comment down below, or anything else the YouTube algorithm loves for you to do. I would really appreciate it, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, I am going to start with the eyeshadow palettes that I finished outside of this project, and I will post pictures of any looks that I have documented using these palettes. So the majority of the palettes, 4 out of the 5, are actually new palettes to my collection, and anytime I bring a new eyeshadow palette into my collection, I have to complete the palette No Pan Left Behind before I can come back and give like my final thoughts to you guys. So the only palette that wasn't new was my Kaleidos Sashimi City palette, and I was working on this in, I believe it was my Deca Panning Project Pan. I absolutely love this eyeshadow palette. It's one of my favorite palettes in my entire collection and has been for several years at this point in time. I always feel really confident when I wear this palette. I love the 2 sparkly shades just because they are so sparkly and so impactful on the eyes, and it really only takes me like one go to complete this because I can create a look using all 7 shades in this palette. So the Kaleidos Sashimi City is officially complete. All right, then we have the Viseart Serenuse Nintendo. I have no idea how to say this. But it is this palette. So when this released last year, I was so interested in this. This definitely like drew my attention, and I almost bought it last year, and then I didn't, and then it was out of stock for a little bit. And then these are just like, this is what I'm craving this year. Like these tones, this is what I'm into. It really, I could have created a look, this look using this palette basically. So I ended up picking it up, and I have absolutely no regrets about this. Even after completing this No Pan Left Behind, I've dipped into this several times. I really enjoy this palette. I like that we have the fun, like random pops of blue, just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun. Yes, it is like a very boring, basic palette, but I also feel like this is the perfect palette just to kind of take with you anywhere, because you can create an appropriate look for just about anything using this palette. You can really like dull it down for the day. You can really make it pop for the night. I am so happy to have this palette. I feel like this is going to become a quick favorite in my collection. I do really enjoy the Viseart formula because it is a little bit more buildable. Sometimes I can go a little bit too heavy-handed, so the buildable is honestly better for me, and I'm just so glad that I decided to pick this up. Then I have the I have the Cleota Paleo palette, and I bought this towards the end of last year, and this is beautiful. My one complaint with this is I do find that the matte shadows in here have a ton of kick up, like a ton. Think ABH Subculture in my opinion. Like the shade Pangea, this one, it has so much kick up. So I always do my eyeshadow first, but definitely with this palette, I feel like you have to do your eyeshadow first. I think this is stunning. I love blues, and then this kind of bottom row reminds me a lot kind of the Kaleidos Sashimi City. So I like that we have a mix of warm tones and then we have blues because, again, my heart is with the blue shades. Aside from blues, I love like a pink peachy gold shifty shadow, so I like these two. This one has a bit of a green shift to it as well. I had so much fun playing around with this eyeshadow palette. This is one I can see myself dipping into quite a bit this summer too. There's blues, but it's more like warm weather blue almost, in my opinion, because I feel like there's like those pool water blues mixed in with this. I'm so glad to have this in my collection. Oden knocks it out of the park with their special shadows, and I'm just pleased to have that one. All right, next up I have the Green Goddess palette from Bella Beauté Bar. I actually did a whole 3 looks 1 palette three looks 1 palette review on this palette. I think this is stunning. I think this is beautiful. My one thing with this one is I do feel like there were a couple of matte shadows in this palette that gave me a little bit of trouble, which is not my typical experience with the Bella Beauté Bar formula. I feel like I'm blanking on which shades right now. I want to say it may have been one of these 2 shadows. Typically with Bella Beauté Bar, their matte shadows are a little bit more buildable as well, which again, buildable the better. But I just was having a little bit of issues with patchiness with a couple of the shadows. And then I will say this, the shade Growth, it looks like a light peach in the pan, like peachy pink. It is very sheer on the eyes, so it doesn't offer a lot of impact, which may be exactly what you're looking for. I know this palette is a little bit more of like a desaturated, grungy situation, but I was expecting this one to have just a little bit more pigmentation. As always with the Bella Beauté Bar special shades, they are truly so special. The shade Balance, like there's quite a few shadows in here that I was like, okay, this is going to quickly become some of my favorite like special shadows in my collection. We have Renewal, which is a really beautiful kind of teal blue brownie sort of shade, which is like pure perfection in my mind. Just like, I love a shadow like that. So I'm really pleased to have this. I will say it's not going to become my favorite Bella Beauté Bar palette of all time, but some of the shadows in there might be. And then the 5th palette that I completed outside of this project was the Natasha Denona Bloom palette. And I will say I was excited for the Bloom palette, but I became even more excited about this when I started to use this on my eyes. Looking at this, I'm like, okay, these aren't necessarily my everyday tones, especially for the mattes. I don't always love peaches and pinks, but every single look I did with this palette, I was so happy with, so pleased with, so excited about. I did like a red and mint shadow or red and mint look that I really loved, and I just found that the shades in here were quite flattering on me, my eyes, my skin tone. And I will say, if I were to rank all of the palettes right now, I think this one might even rank above this one. I really loved the looks that I created with this, so I feel like this would be the top spot of all the new palettes that I'm talking about today, which I'm kind of surprised about because I feel like I love Natasha Denona. Like I really do like the majority of her palettes, but I love my indie palettes a little bit more. But in this case, the Bloom takes the cake for me. So if you've had your eye on this, if you've been thinking about this, I think this is a great pickup for the summer. I feel like the shades are really summer appropriate, really warm weather appropriate, and I'm so glad that I got that. That brings me to the one palette that I was working on in this project that I did finish, and it is the Glaminatrix Fairy Lights palette. And this is a 6-pan, for me, companion palette. It is 6 really metallic shimmers. I actually have the shade Festive on my eyes today on the inner part of my lids. Very sparkly, very fun. I've really enjoyed using this, and I'm glad this got rolled into this project simply because this is something that after I received this and tested it, I really did not reach for this. I don't even know if I reached for this one time last year. If I did, maybe like 1 or 2 times. It really has gone very neglected, and I had so much fun reaching for this. These shimmers are so impactful on the lids, and even though I said I'm going for something a little bit more simple, sometimes it's fun to just do like one matte shadow and then a really sparkly shimmer on the eyes, and I think that is beautiful. So I'm so glad that this got rolled in, and it is another palette complete. So that brings me to the 4 other palettes that I was working on in this project. And you might be thinking to yourself, Steph, at the introduction you said we would be rolling in 2 new palettes, and we are, because there's a palette I'm going to be decluttering, and it's actually my Glaminatrix, not Glaminatrix, my Glamlite Chocolate Martini palette. So this is one of the palettes going, these products will self-destruct, and I just cannot motivate myself to reach into this, to complete this, and that just kind of tells me my time with this palette has come to an end. I really do love some of the shadows in here. I think this is an excellent quality palette. The color story just does not inspire me. It just does not inspire me at all. It's not what I'm wanting to reach for really at all these days, and so rather than hang on to it and try and force myself to reach for it, just have this sit around as another option amongst all the other options in my palette collection, I am just going to pass this one along. I honestly feel like my sister would love this. So this one is going to be decluttered, and therefore we will roll in another replacement for this. And then last update, I did roll in the Flora Story palette. I really have not been great about reaching for just about any eyeshadow palette, you guys, other than like my Rowan Mood Forever. And obviously I was trying to get through testing these new palettes. I didn't reach for Flora Story even one time, so this one is going to remain in the project and I will keep working on it. I have the Huda Empowered, which I have not reached for since the last update, so I still have the majority of this palette to reach for. This rolled in the introduction. I just haven't been motivated to reach for this, but this isn't one that I want to declutter at all. I just need to reach for it. It's plain and simple. And then I also have the Bella Beauté Bar Secret Garden palette. I am a decent way through this. I don't have my notebook in front of me, but I've definitely reached for like the entire top row and the majority of the greens on the bottom. So I'm slowly working my way through this. I feel like summer would be a very appropriate time to do like a bright pink look. So this one is going to remain in the project. It was a larger palette anyway. I was hoping obviously to have it done, but just haven't been reaching for eyeshadow that much. So these 3 palettes are going to remain in the project. I'm gonna go grab my phone and my Tiny Decisions app and we will roll in 2 new palettes to work on. Okay, I have my 2025 wheel pulled up. I have like put no repeats on there, so we can't get any of the palettes we've already worked on. My sound needs to get turned up. There we go. Natasha Denona Biba. Oh, you guys, you know what's so interesting about this is I just kind of rearranged my Biba. I took some of the shades out of Lila and I combined them with Biba. I'll show you. I'm gonna work on my like Biba rearranged palette, but I'm actually really excited about that because I just did that a couple days ago and I was like, ooh, I want a No Pan Left Behind this new Biba palette. So we'll get to that. Anyway, here we go. Second roll. I'm kind of nervous. Huda Naughty Nudes. Oh, this is perfect because I literally just pulled this out the other day to work on it, and I like even made whenever I pull out a palette just like randomly, I don't always make a little spot for it in my like makeup notebook to keep track of what I've used, but I did for Naughty Nude because I was like, I feel like it's been a while since I've reached for Naughty Nude and I really should get around to No Pan Left Behind this. So I've only done one look with that, but I've marked it in my little book of shadows. So let me grab those 2 palettes, and it's really ironic, those 2 palettes are actually sitting next to each other, not with my normal palette collection, in my like focus area. That's so ironic. It's like the panning universe knew we were aligned for once. So let's talk about the Natasha Denona Biba first. This is what my Biba now looks like. Like I said, I mixed my Lila and my Biba. I woke up one morning and I was like, there are shades in my Biba that I don't reach for, like the smoky like grays and the black. And then I was like, and there's shades in my Lila, like I don't reach for the majority of my Lila, but there's shades that I really do love from the Lila. And I opened the 2 next to each other and I was like, I'm gonna make a custom palette that I feel like I'm gonna reach for so much more. So this is a mixture of Biba and Lila, and honestly it just looks like so much more fun to me. Like we have some of the fun pops of color from Lila, and then we have the like grounding warmer neutrals from the Biba, and so this is going to be the palette that I No Pan Left Behind. I know it's not the original and I'm honestly okay with that. I would get more use out of this, I feel like, than I would the original, and I know that I wouldn't necessarily be decluttering either of these. I feel like at this point my Natasha Denona collection is more of like a collector's piece of my makeup collection. So even if I'm not using something, like my Lila really is old at this point, even if I decluttered that, I would just keep the palette around unless it like started growing mold. I would keep the palette around for the collector's mentality of it. But anyway, what I'm getting at is we're gonna be No Pan Left Behinding this custom palette. So I get, when I come back to give you my like final thoughts of this, it may not necessarily be of like the original Biba, but it's my project and we're good with this. Also, I'm like, did I get like just randomly extra burnt here, or am I having like a reaction? I feel like it's getting more red throughout the video. Anyway, the second palette that I rolled in was the Naughty Nudes palette, and I'm actually so excited about this. I feel like this palette has gotten very, very neglected, and I honestly feel like this is such an easy palette to reach for. In fact, the look that I did using this palette, you guys commented so much in the comments below, and you're like, oh my gosh, Steph, these are your tones. These mauvey pinks are your tones. And I was like, you guys, you're really boosting the eco here. So anyway, I think I can get away with this most days for work and create really work appropriate looks, but I also feel like this is a really romantic palette, and I feel like I could create some fun looks kind of similar to looks that I've created out of the not Mercury retrograde. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? The rose quartz that just kind of have those like really pretty, almost like ethereal pinky tones to it. I'm actually very excited about this. I hope this one is a rollout next update. I hope I can just roll Flora story out because it's the smaller of the rest of the ones left. I obviously hope I can roll all of them out, but I just hope maybe I get a little bit more used to my eyeshadow palette collection than I have been. That is going to wrap it up though for this no pan left behind. I will have a bunch of information in my description box, including the total number of eyeshadow pans I've hit this year, the total number of completed palettes I have this year compared to last year, all things like that. So if you're interested, check out the description box. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.